Thanks, Christine. How good do Facebook slides look? And the presentation is really, really good, always impressive. So it's also fascinating to see how advanced segmentation of consumption on mobile has become and how campaigns are planned around that as well. So now for our first fireside chat, I think we're going to have to lean forward and take this in because it's only 10 minutes. It's about native advertising, and it will be an interview hosted by Rita Makhoul, managing editor of ArabNet.
Hi, good morning. I'm very excited about this upcoming talk. I'm sorry, maybe a tad bit nervous as well. The reason I'm very excited about this talk is because Carol not only has like 13 years of experience in the communications, PR, and media industry, she also currently heads up the native advertising product at the MS. But I think more importantly, anybody who sits with Carol for a couple of minutes will see the passion that she has for this job, for what she does. And as the famous Steve Jobs quote goes, the only way to do great work is to love what you do. Please help me welcome Carol Matta up to the stage. Thank you. It's a long walk, I realize.
I know, right? I should have chosen shoes from a branded sponsor. Wow.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for the intro. Hello, everyone. Well, I'm the third one before your coffee break, which is a good thing. And I believe in telte septe, so enjoy the third talk.
Tayyip, let's jump right into it, okay?
Go.
So, hearing all the talks today, seeing what's going on around the region, we realize there is a shift in digital advertising. And the focus, as we just saw, like the focus is on content. Why is that?
I think everyone knows what's happening nowadays. I mean, you've got ads everywhere, right? Even we want to make revenue out of it, but not everything works. So there are ads everywhere. Consumers, users don't have the same attention span anymore because they're bombarded. So it's only normal that majority of the brands are going towards content. Actually, I read recently 25% of traditional media is actually moving towards content. Now, smart brands know that if they engage in their content, it means they're engaging with the brand itself, which means automatically it's a higher ROI, correct? However, everyone has been speaking about creating the right content. I mean, you've seen the panels before, the duration, etc. But the question is, yes, we know that content is the foundation, but the key question to ask is, how can you make content effective? And I think that's one question that every single brand should think of. To be quite honest, if I came from a brand background, I would go like, wow, I want someone to say, wow, this brand actually gets me. And that's the sentence I want brands to have. And I think through content and all the data that you have, creating the right content, you're going to get that thought.
Okay. So when should brands start considering things like native advertising?
So because of content, there was an evolution in terms of how to monetize content. And you've got technology that came on board to monetize content, which is native advertising. I have to really explain what native advertising is, because I feel like everyone's saying what native advertising is, but there's kind of a blurry line. Native advertising is actually branded content. However, it's a distribution tool on how you want to distribute that piece of content. And a lot of questions that I get from brands is, Carol, when do we use native advertising? Like, is there a rule? It's like when you have that measurement, formula that everyone wants to know about. Well, the good news is that with native advertising and content, you can be using it across your entire marketing funnel. I think Abed, in the first panel, he spoke about it, where you can actually create content on the upper funnel, which is when you want awareness and distribute it natively. The only difference is, when it comes to content, is the level of brand integration within each content. So if you're looking at awareness, And if you saw Facebook, there was an on the go, right? It was very quick. And for awareness, you want something quick. And that's why the brand level integration is low. However, you still distribute it natively, as in within a newsfeed. The second stage of the funnel is your consideration stage, right? But here, what you do is, yes, your brand is aware, people are aware of your brands, but you want to kind of convince them, tell them to consider your brand. When that happens, you kind of integrate your brand message more to build that loyalty within the brand. And you can also use branded content distributed natively as well at the conversion, the lower funnel. And this is where great. Your user is convinced and they have the facts about your brand, or they kind of have an emotional bond with your brand, depending on how you got them through that funnel. And that's when you put it's a call to action kind of message. And that's where you can also use your native placement to drive action or conversions. Was I speaking too fast? I was actually hoping Facebook had the audio, like how many words should you speak to get the attention, but they only focused on video and reading, so I wish I knew, so I don't know.
Now I'm wondering, can everybody feel the passion? Can you guys see what I was talking about?
Can I have a big clap? Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we'll try and slow it down now.
All right.
Especially
you said
now,
20 minutes, that's why I've got a lot to cover.
No, it was good. It was fine. I think, was it fine? Was anything not clear? Do you guys need her to repeat anything? I think we're good.
So this is an example of personalized content. We listen to what you guys want and we'll do the same. So, good? Okay, let's go.
So now, especially more slowly so that we can all follow you. And I think what a lot of people want to know is, what are some of the killer distribution strategies you do recommend to your clients?
I love that question. If you want to think of targeting strategies, so now we spoke so much time on how to create content, have the right data, listen to your audience, give them that 15-second video or 30 or whatever, right? Now we should think of the targeting strategies within native advertising. There are two. You either target them per site, as in you target them on a site where you know that they're consuming a piece of content. So let's say the lady in front is on a beauty site and you want to know how to do a smoky makeup, right? You'll find an ad about a mascara, let's say. And that's very contextually relevant and it's very in your face, but this is what you want to consume. So when you're doing that, it's basically more on when you guys are actively searching for something, it's going to be there. The second targeting is context mapping. And it's not about going after you on a site, it's actually looking at your behavior, your online journey. What is it that you've been consuming recently in the past 3 months, in the past 6 months? What are the topics you're looking at? And then finding that out, I'll know what type of audience you are. So let's say, I don't have any new mothers here, but if someone is pregnant right now and they've been researching about what to do, what are the fears, how to act when they're pregnant, you'll be an audience segment, and I'll do a storytelling and target you with my native ads. So I'll probably come up with 10 weird things you didn't know you're going to go through when you were pregnant. So you either go behavioral, basically based on what they're consuming, or you go through the direct, where it's within context, and they actually go on that site and actively consume that piece of content.
All right. Looking at all of that right now, you've created great content, you're collecting a lot of data, you're doing a lot of research, conducting research, you're understanding your audience, I'm guessing. Yeah. What is the role of research and data in powering native ads?
I mean, it goes without saying. I mean, anything without data is not going to be sustainable, right? I mean, so much is happening nowadays that you want to track it. However, you want to make sure that you're making the best use of your data. When I think about it in terms of native advertising and the product itself and branded content, I would actually put it under 3 things. I mean, I would look at data with the first thing, which is the typical campaign that you look at, is your key learnings. When I speak about key learnings, it's finding out insights that I didn't think about. For example, that should be shocking for all the women in the room. We all want to lose weight, right? But if I tell you that you can lose weight in 4 ways, versus if you can lose weight in 5 ways, and I did an A/B testing for that, which headline do you think got a higher engagement? Who says 4? Okay, and who says 5? Is that equal?
I think there was more.
Or one more
fives.
time, who said 4? All right, 5? Wow, well done, it's 5 actually. So what's interesting is that even though it takes less time, you know, in 4 times, I mean, to lose, you have 4 steps to lose weight, or 4 ways, people actually read in 5 ways more, because odd numbers register more in your mind. So what I'm trying to tell you is, that's the first level of data, when you find key insights from typical campaigns.
So odd numbers over even
I'm just giving you an example.
Okay.
Like, yeah, when you want to do an A/B testing, do you want to put a number on a headline? Because you know how you have that 2 seconds to actually either click on something or not? Your headline, you have to spend like 80% on it before on the content. There was a saying that someone said now, and I loved it. I actually looked at my friend next to me going like, what did he say? He said, if I had more time, I'd write a shorter letter. I found that like awesome, because that's exactly when it comes to headlines, same thing. So getting back to the point, so we're talking about data. So that's the key learnings. The second point is basically when you want to create audience segments, you can't have like a one message hit it all approach anymore, right? So now you have to focus on finding the data to be able to put your audiences into segments and then create personalized conversations to each of these segments. The third, all right, is basically research. Research is very important, and what we do at DMS is we kind of also do a lot of brand uplift studies, because we don't think it's enough for brands to just look at page views, social interactions, clicks. Those are the soft metrics. You want to go further. You want to see if you actually invest in content, if that's going to do a significant impact on your key metrics. Every brand wants to sell more. No matter what they tell you, they want to sell more. So by doing brand uplift studies, we can measure the purchase intent, measure favorability, measure other metrics that will actually push people to focus on branded content and native advertising. So I guess if I were to think of how we use it it's according to these 3 points.
Well, touching on metrics, now that you've mentioned metrics, what should marketeers be obsessed with? What kind of distribution metrics should they be looking at?
All right, I think everyone asks this question everywhere. I'll tell you something. Global clients and regional clients, 95% of clients, when they think of content, the metric is page views automatically, right? And then they go on to social interactions. And then they go on to time spent. And the last thing is CTR. I think we understand why. However, you always need that click as well, so we have to give it some credit. Like you need someone has to click eventually. When it comes to the metrics themselves, especially with content, it also depends on what type of content you're looking at, right? So you're going to look at what type of content you're looking at, but also you want to look at the format that you're looking at. Because in the end of the day, the beauty about native advertising, so you distribute anything and everything, whether it's a video, whether it's an image, whether it's articles, whether it's infographics, and whether it's GIFs. By the way, no one mentioned infographics recently, but actually it's one of those very high engaging content formats that we kind of sometimes forget about, because I also read a recent study that said that they increased engagement by 70%. That's interesting as well. So going back to it, so we need to actually see what type of content that we need to measure and kind of do a scoring system accordingly. If we're thinking from a campaign level, then you have to look into everything. You need to look into the page views, the time spent, the social interactions, and shareability, and all of those. However, if you want to know more, I think there should be more after that click. And that's when you do more of your brand uplift studies, the impact of your campaign or your online strategy, communication strategy on that certain brand. And that's when you do your brand uplift studies to kind of measure those metrics. And I think creating benchmarks, I don't think we should just say pages and look at, I think every single region should create their own benchmarks, by the way, when it comes to measurement. Because a lot of times there are a lot of nice numbers, right? 81% it's increase, it's probably a global number. Or regionally, the GCC, okay, but we're in Lebanon, we're Levant. So I really think there should be benchmarks that you need to create per region and even go into per country. Doesn't matter, that's what we do with audience. Per country to do that as well, in terms of benchmarks. And that's when you start knowing what works for you and what doesn't. So that's why it's so important to actually invest in measurement and data, because you need something that you can resonate to users here. And it's not just a global thing or regional, but actually go local. I really think everyone should go local by creating, whether an in-house dashboards, having media, publishers, agencies, etc., help them in that. We can help you with that. So whatever you guys want.
I'm being signaled that we're running out of time, but I do want to run one last question before we do stop.
Sure.
If you could leave the audience today, if they can leave here today with some killer tips from you on what would make a successful native campaign, what would you leave them? 3 tips.
Okay. I think there are 3 things I would say with, I don't want to call it native because it's very narrow. Let's think of branded content distributed natively is how I like to call it. First, listen to your audience, big time. And if you want to go local, go local. That's one. Second, the power of data. Without it, you're not going to sustain. And third, measure, measure, measure. Even if you fail, keep on going and measure, measure until you get the optimal results. I think these are the key points that I would think of.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Any question?
I don't know if we have time for questions.
No question.
We do not have time. But here's what you can do. DMS actually have this beautiful booth outside in the hall. You can go there, hijack Carol, ask her any question you want. And if that works for you, you're going to be there, right? Yeah. Sorry, I just invited them there.
I'm giving free drinks.
And there's free drinks as well. Go.
That's a joke.
Have a happy hour.
The big boss is here. No. All right.
All righty. Thank you all.